Well, hello, this is Andrew, and this is episode 40. Wow. I never imagined I'd get to that. Anyway, here we are. And today I've got a title that I want to share with you. It's Little Things Matter. Yesterday we considered the issue of truth. I was obliquely addressing the political issues of our own day. It deeply concerns me that we seem to live in a world where, by many people, all that is published on social media is given equal standing. So it doesn't matter who writes it, doesn't matter where it comes from, it's all kind of regarded with the same level of authority. Errant nonsense is believed, simply because someone has posted it, out of ignorance, bigotry, and sometimes sheer malice, with no interest in establishing the truth of whatever it is that's being stated. To simply assert it and post it in the minds of many readers makes it true, particularly if they want to believe that it's true. And rather than looking to train journalists, each held accountable for what they write, we dismiss their posts with words like fake news, simply because it runs counter to what our latest hero, our favourite blogger, those in the know, tell us is really the case. Anyway, enough of that. Today, and over the next few episodes, I'm going to pick up the various threads of the response that Jesus made to the claim that he was casting out demons by the power of Satan. So we're going back to that text and we're going to go through it section by section. He knew. So let's pick the text up. I'll read the whole thing again. I'm going to be focusing today on Matthew 12 verses 25 through to 32. But we're going to pick it up at verse 22 just again to establish the context. They brought to Jesus a demoniac who was blind and mute. And he cured him, so that the one who had been mute could speak and see. All the crowds were amazed and said, "Can this be the Son of God?" That's not what he said. He says, "Can this be the Son of David?" But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, "It's only by Beelzebul, the ruler of the demons, that this fellow casts out the demons." He knew what they were thinking and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. If Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? If I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your exorcists cast them out? Therefore they will be your judges. But if it is by the Spirit of God that I cast out demons, then the kingdom of God has come to you." Right, well, some years ago I started looking for what I describe as immutable laws of the universe. These are laws, principles that are always true. And I believe I found one. Principally in 1 Corinthians 8:1, we read the words, "Love builds up." Now this is kind of alluded to in a couple of other places in Paul's writing, but in 8 verses 1 it just has that simple statement, love builds up. And when I take the New Testament definition of love, that agapeo kind of love, it can be best described as that which seeks the highest and best good. Now I would say probably for others. But it's that which seeks the highest and best good which is important to hang on to. I've not seen an example where love builds up, when defined in these terms, that isn't true. We see it across the whole of nature. Things that are loved almost invariably grow. Things that are unloved, think about that as a word for a moment. What is unloved? Well, it's the opposite from being loved. The things that are unloved shrink, they diminish, they become less. I'd actually be interested, and you can post in the comments below, of any examples you can think of where what I've said isn't true, where love builds up isn't true, or where unlove diminishes isn't true. I'd be interested to know. Today I'm going to suggest the possibility of a second immutable law. Jesus claims no city or house divided against itself will stand. And I had to think about that. Yesterday, with relation to the possibility of Satan casting out Satan, I suggested the possibility of Satan engaged in a long game, of being willing to sacrifice one soul, this man who was blighted by this demon, to be willing to sacrifice one soul for a greater purpose. When we apply Jesus' lens, no, and you can fill in the blank, house, institution, government, whatever, family, divided against itself will stand, we are faced with the reality that any person, group, church, institution, government, council, whatever, that is willing to sacrifice one of its subjects to protect its future has ultimately sown the seeds of its own destruction. Think about that for a moment. Any institution, let's call it an institution, that covers a whole range from the very smallest to the greatest, but which is willing to sacrifice one of its perhaps weakest, most fragile individuals in order to protect its own future, has in fact ultimately destroyed that future. It has undermined trust within the rest of the fill in the blank institution that in fact can be trusted. You get that? Others are looking, they notice. Here is the beauty of the gospel revealed. Jesus offers himself, and in sacrificing himself demonstrates to all the depths of his love and of his commitment to us. He's not sacrificing us or anybody else to a greater purpose. He's sacrificing himself. Nobody else is expendable. Nobody else is one who can be discarded and tossed aside. This raises a significant issue for all institutions, from the global to the local. If they're willing to sacrifice the weakest and most vulnerable among them to preserve their own future, they have ultimately sealed their own fate. If they cannot protect the dignity, the value, the life of the weakest, they cannot be trusted to protect the dignity, the value, the life of any, except perhaps themselves. And this will be seen and at some level noted. It will not end well. It may take some time, but it will not end well. It has long been my conviction that process matters. How we do what we do is no less important than what we do. How we travel together, how we treat one another, is no less important than the destination. If the ends justifies the means, and I want to suggest I do not believe it ever does, but if the ends justifies the means, if arriving is the only thing that matters at the expense of those we journey with, this is a journey I want to suggest where Jesus has got off the bus. The ends never justifies the means. And although the means may be difficult, the way may be hard, steep and narrow, how we journey will ultimately determine who we journey with and whether or not we reach our desired destination. The parables of the talents, in their various iterations, point in the same direction. It's those who can be trusted with the little things that are ultimately entrusted with the greater things. If we can't be trusted with the little things, if our integrity doesn't extend to the small things, the just, the merciful, and compassionate treatment of those among us, the least among us, why would we imagine that we would be trustworthy when the scale is ramped up? I was struck some years ago by listening to Dallas Willard, for whom I have huge respect. And he examines the dictum of Lord Acton when he said, "Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely." Now, most of us know of that and have heard of it and think, yeah, that's right. Willard's reflection, though, was that power doesn't corrupt. It simply shows us who we really are. It shows us what is there all the time. What it does is reveals the underlying character that has always been present. Going back a little farther, Thomas à Kempis put it this way: "Occasions make not a man to fail, but they show what the man is." Challenging, isn't it? I suspect this isn't what you were expecting when you tuned in today. It has, though, given me pause for some thought. Little things matter. They matter to God, as they are pointers to character, to who we really are, and they need to matter to us. I hope this is helpful. God bless you.